All right, so we're diving into Joker. Folie Deux.
Okay.
And this is not your typical sequel. This is a film that has got everyone talking and buzzing a little bit because it's a blend of psychological thriller, which we expect, right? We know Joker, we know the darkness, we know all of that, but with, wait for it, musical numbers.
Yeah.
I know what you're thinking, because when I first heard Joker musical,
Right.
I was picturing Joaquin Phoenix in Top Hat and Tails, you know?
Yeah.
And even I was a little bit skeptical at first, I have to say.
It's certainly a bold move. There's no doubt about that. You're going along, you're immersed in this cold, stark reality of Arkham Asylum.
Right.
Which, could be something out of Shawshank Redemption for all we know. And then suddenly, bam, Joaquin Phoenix is singing.
Oh, wow.
And it's very disorienting. And I think that's the point.
Right.
We're in Joker's mind at this point, and it's a very fractured mind. We should expect the unexpected.
Exactly. It's like Joker stumbled onto the set of La La Land and they said, let's just go for it. Let's film this fever dream. And so the question I think on everyone's mind is, did this gamble pay off, or is it just a glorious, chaotic mess?
Well, the audience reaction is divided, much like Gotham itself.
Okay.
You've got some critics are calling it a masterpiece. They're praising its bold vision and its true exploration of mental illness. And others, well, let's just say they're not exactly tapping their toes along to this dark descent into madness.
And speaking of the descent into madness, can we talk about Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn?
Oh, yeah.
Because she is not the bubbly chaos agent that we've seen in other interpretations.
Right.
This Harley feels more calculated.
Yes.
More in control. Like she's playing a very strategic game of psychological chess.
Absolutely. And I think that's what's so fascinating about her portrayal.
Yes.
This Harley is not just along for the ride.
Right.
She's an active participant in this descent. And she's drawn to the darkness. And you can really feel that she is, if anything, exacerbating it.
And their chemistry is undeniable.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, talk about a toxic tango. It's like a twisted Arkham Asylum version of Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
You know what's wrong, but you can't tear your eyes away.
It's a fascinating dynamic. You see her almost manipulating him, drawing him deeper into these delusions. And that scene, especially in music therapy,
Yes.
where they first truly connect,
Oh, yeah.
it's electric, but there's this underlying sense of danger.
Yeah.
She doesn't see his madness as something to cure, but something to embrace.
Oh, interesting.
It's a really fascinating take.
In Phoenix, I mean, he commits, right?
Oh, he commits.
Arthur Fleck's shattered psyche.
100%.
He is gone, almost skeletal in this, like a ghost haunting the halls of Arkham.
Yeah.
But some critics have said that he goes too far, that it's too much.
There's a lot of debate about that.
Right.
Some critics found his performance over the top, even indulgent at times. But then again, can you separate the Joker from that theatricality?
Right. I mean, where does performance end and madness begin? And is there even a difference in Arthur's world?
Exactly. It's a really good question.
And speaking of blurring the lines between reality and performance, let's talk about these musical numbers. Because one minute you are in this gritty psychological thriller, and the next it's a full-blown musical, complete with choreography and everything.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd see the day where a Joker film had dance sequences.
And that's the point, right? He's pulling us deeper into Arthur's mind.
Okay.
It's a visual and auditory representation of this internal world bleeding out into what we believe to be reality.
So it's not just about randomly shoehorning in these musical numbers. There's a method to the madness.
Exactly. It's a daring, experimental approach to filmmaking.
Okay.
He's playing with the genre conventions,
Right.
blending the gritty realism of the first film, but then interlacing it with these fantastical musical sequences.
It's true.
And some might call it messy, but it's undeniably effective in creating this unsettling cinematic experience that makes you question what is real, much like Arthur himself.
It's like he's taken the idea of the unreliable narrator and turned it into unreliable reality.
Yes, 100%.
It's all filtered through this distorted lens.
Yeah, and that blurring of reality and fantasy.
Right.
It's very common in stories about mental illness.
Right.
And by using music, Phillips is forcing us to question what we see and what we hear, mirroring Arthur's own struggles.
And speaking of bold moves, these musical numbers, I mean, they run the gamut.
Yeah.
You go from, it's like Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers' elegance
Wow.
to these dark and gritty numbers that wouldn't be out of place in Chicago.
Yes.
It's quite a range.
It's almost as if each number reflects a different facet of his, fractured psyche.
Yeah.
You get the elegance, the darkness, the raw emotion.
Right.
Like it's all a glimpse into this chaotic symphony that's playing out in his head.
Yeah. It's like he's conducting his own internal orchestra. And it's spilling out into the real world, whether he wants it to or not.
Right.
And it reminds me of that saying, there's a thin line between love and hate.
Right.
But in this case, the line is like scribbled in crayon. It's messy, it's raw, and you're not sure whether to be captivated or horrified.
Yeah.
And that brings us, I think, to the critical response.
Okay.
Which, as you mentioned, is as divided as a room full of Joker's worst enemies.
Exactly. You've got some critics, like at The Independent,
Right.
They call it bleak, but brilliant. They're praising its audacity and its willingness to explore, the darkest corners of the human psyche.
Sure.
They see it as this daring work of art, like it's pushing the boundaries of what a comic book movie can be.
But then on the flip side, you've got folks saying that it's just a chaotic mess, like it's a bridge too far.
Right. It's definitely a far cry from the grounded realism we got in the first film.
Yeah.
This time around, it's less about the gritty streets of Gotham, and it's more about the labyrinthine corridors of Arthur's mind.
Which, let's be honest, is not exactly a walk in the park.
No, not at all. And that is reflected in the audience reception as well.
Okay.
It's sitting at, 71% on Rotten Tomatoes,
Interesting.
which is respectable, sure. But it does show that this is not a film that is going to resonate with everyone.
No, and I think that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It's a film that really demands a lot from its audience.
Yeah.
It's not your typical, popcorn flick. You can't just sit back and let it wash over you.
Right.
You're actively engaged. You're trying to figure out what's real, what's imagined, what it all means.
Yeah, and it can be.
Right.
It can be mentally, emotionally taxing for some viewers.
Absolutely.
But for some viewers, that's part of the appeal.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
It's a film that's going to stay with you, long after the credits have rolled.
It sparks conversation, it sparks debate, it sparks a whole lot of head scratching.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's like a puzzle box disguised as a psychological thriller with a musical twist.
Yeah.
We're just trying to put all these pieces together,
Yeah.
trying to figure out, what is the bigger picture here?
Hmm.
But even when those credits roll, you're left wondering, did I miss something?
Right, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't offer any easy answers.
Right.
It doesn't hold your hand. It doesn't guide you through these complexities.
Right.
It throws you into the deep end of Arthur Fleck's fractured psyche and says, all right, swim.
I love that.
Figure it out.
So to answer the question I think we posed earlier,
Okay.
did this gamble pay off? Is Joker, Folie Deux, a stroke of genius or a swing and a miss?
I think it depends on who you ask.
Okay.
There's no denying that this is a visually stunning film. It's a feast for the senses.
Okay.
The performances are powerful, the music is haunting and exhilarating,
Right.
and the story is unlike anything you've ever seen before.
Okay.
But
yeah.
it's also a film that's not afraid to alienate its audience.
Sure.
It is divisive, it's challenging, it's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely a film that sparked a lot of conversation.
It has.
And that's not always a bad thing.
No, not at all. In fact, that's often a sign that a film is doing something right.
It's kind of like, you don't just go to a restaurant to be comfortable.
Right.
Sometimes you want to be challenged.
Yeah.
You want the chef's unique vision.
Exactly. And in the case of Joker, Folie Deux, he is definitely serving up something unexpected.
He is.
It's a film that, like I said, asks more questions than it answers.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Right.
It's really about kind of confronting our own perceptions of sanity and madness and, and blurring those lines.
Right. And what does it even mean when those lines start to blur? Not just in the film, but in our own lives.
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah.
We all construct our own narratives, our own versions of reality.
Oh, yeah.
And this film just kind of holds a funhouse mirror up to that. And says,
I like that.
What do you think about this?
Yeah.
It's distorting, exaggerating,
Right.
just to make us question what we see and why we see it.
It's been quite the experience, this deep dive.
Okay.
I mean, we've gone from the gritty streets of Gotham to the depths of Arkham Asylum. And we're navigating a world where musical numbers just erupt from the, depths of mental illness.
It's a testament to the power of film, I think.
Yeah.
The way it can transport us, challenge us, and really just leave us with more questions than answers.
And speaking of lingering questions, let's circle back to something I think we touched upon a little bit earlier.
Okay.
And that is, if these musical numbers are kind of a manifestation of Arthur's internal world, right?
Right.
His escape from, the harsh realities of Arkham and Gotham.
Yeah.
What does that then say about how we as viewers, but also just as people, how we construct our own realities.
That is a great question.
Right.
What does it mean to see the world through a different lens, and even, a fractured one at that?
Right.
I think that is really the heart of it.
Yeah.
We all wear our own set of lenses, right?
Right.
And they're shaped by our experiences, our beliefs, our perceptions.
Totally.
And I think Joker, Folie, Deux, just reminds us that reality is subjective.
It's fluid. And maybe it's a bit more musical than we think.
Than we care to admit, yeah.
Than we care to admit.
It's a really interesting concept.
It is.
And I think this is a film that's going to stay with me for a while.
Me too.
A lot to unpack there, a lot to think about.
Absolutely, a lot to process.
So if you're looking for a film that's going to challenge you, if you're looking for a film that's going to make you think, if you're looking for a film that's going to maybe keep you up at night, check out Joker, Folie, Deux. But be warned, it's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, you're gonna need to buckle up for this one.
Yeah, but we would love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yes.
So hit us up on social media, let us know what you think.
Let's get a conversation going.
Because this is a film that definitely, I think, warrants discussion.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we'll catch you guys next time on another deep dive.
Sounds good.